My sister and I are twin sisters from the orphanage. In our previous life, I, who was sweet-faced but venomous-hearted, was taken away by a poor foster father and locked up in the mountains, enduring endless torment. Meanwhile, my sister, a fierce and rebellious girl, was adopted by a wealthy family, enduring daily bullying from her malicious younger brother and the indifference of her foster parents. She suffered in silence, was humiliated and cyberbullied, and ultimately jumped to her death in despair. In the second life, I seized the chance to be adopted by wealthy parents before my sister could, flashing her a smug smile. Watch closely, little sister, I'll show you just once how to thrive in such a respectable family. My sister raised an eyebrow and, without hesitation, chose the adoptive father who had been my downfall in our previous life. She clenched her fists, the sound sharp and clear. Then I'll show you, dear sister, exactly what it takes to deal with an old scoundrel. My sister and I were reborn together, returning to the very day we were to be adopted. A wealthy family arrived at the welfare home, with a flashy Ferrari parked at the entrance. The people stepping out of the car carried an air of refined elegance, untouched by worldly concerns. The man was dressed in a tailored suit, while the woman was adorned with sparkling jewels. All the children in the home pressed their faces against the windows, hoping to be chosen. Unsurprisingly, their gaze fell upon my younger sister. My sister was about to step forward when I pulled her back behind me. She looked at me in disbelief, and I gently shook my head at her. In that brief exchange of glances, our innate understanding told us that both of us had been reborn. Hello, Auntie, my name is Xiao Weiwei, I said, lifting my head and looking up with a small smile. I'm an older sister, and I love being one. If you have a baby in the future, I can fulfill my wish of taking care of a younger sibling. At 6 years old, I looked women straight in the eye, my gaze clear, filled with innocence and sincerity. I was wrestling with fate. I was betting that she would choose me out of concern for her son. According to memories from my past life, the Qin family, as one of the top-tier wealthy families, was so powerful and unshakable that its influence spread to every corner of Peace City, appearing impenetrable from the outside. The only weakness is their disappointing son, that brother who bullied my sister for over a decade, spoiled to the extreme by them. Sure enough, upon hearing this, the woman crouched down, then she took my hand. Good child, you must take good care of your younger brother from now on. I breathed a sigh of relief. Don't worry, Auntie, I will take good care of him, giving him a care he will never forget for the rest of his life. Before leaving, my younger sister threw herself into my arms, her eyes moist, like a little animal. Sister, I really miss you so much. Being able to see my sister again makes it all worth it, even if I die. I ruffled her hair. What are you talking about? We must live on, and live well, with all our might, sparing no effort, and fighting for survival against all odds. We must live on, only then can we live up to the opportunity given to us by heaven. After exchanging information, I got into my adoptive parents' Ferrari. In my previous life, after my sister was adopted by the Han family, I thought she would live a pampered life like a princess. The parents were prominent figures, and the younger brother was a sister Khan. Unexpectedly, the sister that the younger brother was obsessed with was the Han family's sister who died in the womb before she was even born, a sister who existed only in his fantasies, a white moonlight that would never truly exist. It was precisely because of this matter that the master suggested the Han family adopted daughter to change the family's feng shui. Qiao Wanwan's arrival shattered Qin Shiyuan's fantasy of having an older sister, and Qin Shiyuan resented her younger sister for taking the place of the older sister. On her first day at the Qin family, her younger brother threw a quilt soaked in cold water at her. The younger sister wanted to exchange it for a new one, but the younger brother looked innocent and aggrieved. I just wanted to hand-wash a quilt for my sister, but I didn't think about drying it. Sister, do you despise me? The Qin parents have always doted on Qin Shiyuan, and this time they also brushed it off lightly. Shiyuan meant well. As the older sister, you should be more tolerant of him. My sister spent the night covered in the soaked quilt and broke out in a rash all over her body the next day. At home, Qin Shiyuan bullied Qiao Wanwan. At school, Qin Shiyuan instructed classmates to bully her. Even when Qiao Wanwan embarked on her path to stardom, Qin Shiyuan orchestrated an online smear campaign against her, all because her sister stood in the way of Qin Shiyuan's beloved. He paved the way for his beloved, clearing all obstacles, and Qiao Wanwan's brilliance was too dazzling, making her the first target to be taken down. Qin Shiyuan fabricated a large amount of damaging information, sparing no effort to slander and frame her, destroying her and personally clipping her wings. In the end, he forced her to jump off a building, then used the tragedy to boost his beloved's popularity, profiting from her suffering. The car stopped downstairs, and the sound of the elevator pulled me back to reality. I suppressed the emotions in my eyes and obediently followed the Qin family into my sister's nightmare. That night, a soaked quilt was laid on my bed. I didn't make a fuss. Silently, I threw away the quilt, pulled out the mattress, and lay directly on the Simmons bed, using the soft bedding as a cover. Before dawn, I made the bed again and picked up the quilt to cover myself. When the nanny came to wake me up, she immediately felt the damp quilt. After reporting it to Mrs. Chin called the person who tidied my bed at night. Upon inquiry, it turned out that Chin Shiyuan was the one responsible for this. Chin Shiyuan, afraid that his mother would scold him, was about to feign innocence and grievance when I cut him off. I tugged at Mrs. Chin's sleeve and whispered, "My brother probably just wanted to hand-wash a quilt for me, but it didn't dry properly. I'm already touched by his thoughtfulness. Mom, please don't punish him." At that time, Chin Shiyuan was still young. He only knew that his parents loved him dearly, and even if he truly did something wrong, they couldn't bring themselves to truly punish or hit him. But he didn't know that between right and wrong, adults tend to prioritize interests. I was as clear as a mirror in my heart. When Mrs. Chin sent someone to inquire, it wasn't at all to stand up for me. She simply suspected that the household staff were not performing their duties properly and wanted to see if anyone was slacking off. So, I took the initiative to defend Chin Shiyuan. Hoping to earn some goodwill, Lady Chin's eyes flickered with a hint of admiration. "It's thoughtful of you to think this way." After I stole his line, Chin Shiyuan was momentarily stunned. Even the way he looked at me held a touch of something different. With memories from my past life, I knew Chin Shiyuan's preferences like the back of my hand. Every step perfectly hits his points of interest. So, in this life, no one around me deliberately bullies me anymore. At least Chin Shiyuan hasn't taken action. However, he still doesn't call me sister and threatens me not to tell our classmates about our relationship, until one day, I was cornered in the bathroom by a female gang leader. She pressed me against the sink in the women's restroom, grabbing my hair and snarling, "Dare not let me copy your homework. Do you know who my brother is?" With my eyes closed, my mouth and nose blocked by water, I couldn't utter a single word. She went on, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. The feeling of suffocation pressed down on me, making my head spin. The tough girl was also afraid of causing a death, so when it seemed about right, she pulled me out of the pool, kicked me in the knee, and made me half kneel on the ground. "Listen up, my brother, Lu Chenin, works under Chin Shiyuan." Ever heard of Chin Shiyuan, the crown prince of P City? I couldn't hold back and let out a snort of laughter. I usually don't laugh at people to their faces, unless I really can't help it. "You little bitch, you still dare to laugh." The female boss squatted down, patted my face, and smiled like a maliciously grinning Venus flytrap. "Tell me, what are you laughing at? Let's all have a good laugh together." I didn't respond immediately, quickly calculating in my mind, if Chin Shiyuan wasn't involved, then as the adopted daughter of the Chin family, if I were truly bullied by outsiders at school, the Chin parents would likely step in for me. No matter how much Chin Shiyuan and I stir up trouble to the Chin family, it's all considered internal conflict. Once outsiders are involved, the Chin family's attitude changes. After all, to some extent, I am also a matter of their pride. "I'm saying, your brother recognizes Chin Shiyuan as his big brother," I said unhurriedly, "and your brother still has to call me sister. It's not that I'm criticizing you, but your brother is already in his 3rd year of junior high. Yet he still calls a first-year junior high student brother. If his math teacher knew he calculated like this, he'd be turning in his grave." Slap. A slap landed squarely on my face, and the left side of my cheek visibly swelled up. My words had truly hit her sore spot, and the female boss's face twisted in anger. "If you want to die, I'll make it happen. I know you're in a hurry, but don't rush just yet." I wiped the blood trickling from the corner of my mouth, smiling faintly. "Before you act, you should find out who Chin Shiyuan's sister is." "I don't care who she is." The female boss was already furious. "It definitely can't be you. Don't think that just because you share the same surname, you can claim any relation to young Master Chin. If you're his sister, I'll eat every box of sanitary pads in this room right now." Then, she pointed at her followers. "You, and you, hold her down. The rest of you, take turns. If we don't make her suffer today, you can all forget about following me. Let me see who dares." A cold voice rang out as the female gang leader pushed aside the curtain of the women's restroom. She saw Chin Shiyuan standing at the entrance, her face as cold as frost. The female boss changed her expression like a Sichuan opera face changer, putting on a fawning smile. "Isn't this my brother Chin? You've come at just the right time. It's this lowly wretch. She was trying to cozy up to you, and I was just teaching her a lesson." Chin Shiyuan looked coldly at the female boss. "Slap her face. Did you hear me? What are you still standing there for? Slap her." The female boss waved her hand and turned to shout at her followers, "I'm talking to you." Chin Shiyuan grabbed the female boss's wrist and flung it aside forcefully. The female boss said in disbelief, "I'm Lu Yuan, Lu Chenin's sister. Don't you remember me? I don't care whose sister you are. Even if Lu Chenin touched my sister, He won't leave the school gate in one piece. Your sister, her." The female boss's confusion was palpable. The information overload caused the female boss to freeze on the spot. "I don't hit women. Each of you slap yourselves 10 times, and then you can get lost." After saying that, Qin Shiyuan walked past these people without giving them another glance. When he walked up to me, he crouched down, took out a tissue, and carefully wiped the blood from my face. Then, he pulled me onto his back. In front of everyone, he carried me across half the school to the infirmary. In less than 20 minutes, the city's most luxurious private medical vehicle arrived at the school. Half an hour later, all the surgical experts from the top-tier hospital had gathered. The female boss, along with her group of followers, knelt in the infirmary with swollen faces, begging for my forgiveness. The next day, rumors spread that Qin Shiyuan had pressed Lu Chenen's head into a toilet, forcing him to drink toilet water. After class, Qin Shiyuan came to the infirmary to accompany me while I received an 4 drip. Sitting by the bed and peeling a segment of an orange to feed me, I chewed on the orange, mumbling, "You are so harsh on them. Aren't you afraid their parents might really make a scene?" "No, their family has always been following the Qin family for a living." Qin Shiyuan raised an eyebrow. "What? Are you feeling soft-hearted? Do you think I was too harsh?" I shook my head. Soft-hearted, how could that be? In my past life, as Qin Shiyuan's most loyal follower, they were the ones who acted with the most cruelty. It just so happened that this time it was related to Lu Chenen, so I seized the opportunity, deliberately provoked the tough woman, wanting to stir things up, forced the Qin parents to step in, officially recognize my identity, and then take it step by step. "But I didn't expect it would be you who came to help me this time," I smiled sweetly, my tone carrying a hint of playful teasing. "I'm flattered, little brother. Unlike my sister's striking and aggressive beauty, my appearance is highly deceptive." The deer-like eyes were innocent and clear, with shallow dimples appearing when she smiled, so sweet that one couldn't look away. Qin Shiyuan's ears turned slightly red as he awkwardly turned his head away. My smile deepened. This dog-eat-dog drama is truly a delight to watch. After that incident, the whole school knew that the Crown Prince of Peace City was my brother. We rode to school in the same car, and he personally opened the car door for me, taking my bag in the process. Some people saw us sharing the same cup of milk tea. Some people saw Qin Shiyuan coming to ask me about questions he didn't understand after class. The attitude of my classmates towards me has changed. The little followers who used to follow the big sister have now turned against her and are trying to curry favor with me. They say they want to make me their big sister. I calmly accept it and take them to bully others, bullying those who once bullied my sister. Watching them kneel before me, weeping and begging for forgiveness, I remained unmoved. Did they show any mercy when they bullied Xiao Wanwan back then? If I forgive them now, it would be a second harm to my sister. No one but the victims themselves has the right to speak of forgiveness on their behalf. Moreover, Xiao Wanwan has a strong and unyielding personality and is not good at bowing to others. I suppose she would only be bullied even more. What? Can't you bear it when the same thing happens to you? You only know the pain when the knife is thrust into your own body. What big brother? What tough girl? What school bully? They're just a bunch of bullies who pick on the weak and fear the strong. The 3 years of junior high school came to an end after the high school entrance exam. Qin Shiyuan went on a vacation to the Maldives with his adoptive parents, while I stayed in Peace City, using the excuse of having signed up for a pre-college program. After they left, I quickly booked a train ticket to go find my sister. This wasn't the best timing, but I couldn't wait any longer. According to the timeline from my previous life, the second year of junior high was when my nightmare began, when my adoptive father molested me, and I was forced into becoming a village prostitute, and Xiao Wanwan is exactly in her second year of junior high this year. In my previous life, Xiao Wanwan and I each stepped into the hell of wealth and the abyss of poverty. She could play the role of a gilded canary, outwardly glamorous but inwardly broken, in the wealthy family. I struggled and crawled in the mountain village, doing everything I could to fight for a way to survive. As a child, I took on all the household chores like a servant at home, quietly working hard, determined to escape the mountains through education. When I was in the second year of junior high school, I discovered that my adoptive father was peeping at me while I was taking a shower. I was so frightened that I never dared to shower at home again. Instead, I would sneak to the river to wash myself late at night when everything was quiet. Not long after, my adoptive father still found out. That night, when I came out of the river, I couldn't find my clothes. In my anxiety, I heard my adoptive father calling my name, like the whispers of a demon, under the pale moonlight. It was my desperate cry. After that night, he locked me in a small dark room, clearly pricing it at 80 each time. The customers who came and went ranged from local thugs to wealthy merchants and village officials. Even the village chief was involved. There was no way to report it without escaping to the city. The only motivation to keep living was my sister's promise that she would come looking for me. I waited year after year, only to receive the news that my sister had taken her own life. When my foster father held the phone in front of me, he looked at me with a malicious smile. He wanted to see me broken, desperate, and shattered. Just as he wished, I stabbed the knife into my foster father's chest and set the entire village on fire. I don't want to wait for justice that comes too late. I'd rather drag everyone down to hell with my own hands. The road to Xiaowanwan's place was difficult to travel, requiring a journey from Peace City to the prefecture-level city, followed by a motorcycle ride over the mountain road. When I transferred to the prefecture-level city, just to be safe, I hired a group of bodyguards to accompany me. Upon reaching the village entrance, I saw two girls pinning down a boy, with Xiaowanwan standing at the forefront of the crowd. She took a beer bottle handed to her by a boy nearby, raised her hand, and smashed it over a boy's head. Her movements were swift and decisive, seasoned and ruthless, clearly the work of someone experienced in frequent fights. Blood splattered all over Xiaowanwan's face. She narrowed her eyes, looking as dangerous as the wild mandala flowers growing by the riverbank. I clapped my hands and stepped forward. Wanjia, the queen of the streets, beautiful and untamed, sister. Xiaowanwan saw me and cried out in delight, brushing her hair aside before throwing herself into my arms, bringing a slight cool breeze. I ruffled her hair. Didn't expect that. You've become quite the big sister. What big sister? They just needed to be taught a lesson. Xiaowanwan took my hand and led the way on the silver path. Come on, let me take you home to have a look. Along the way, Xiaowanwan chattered on, proudly showing off her great achievements. A few months ago, her adoptive father molested her by the river. Without a word, she grabbed his hair and yanked him down, then drove her knee into his nose. He was knocked half unconscious on the spot. After finishing the job, she threw him into the river. By the time others found the body the next day, it had been so badly bloated and disfigured by the river water that it was unrecognizable. The injuries on his face were invisible to the naked eye, and no one would have looked closely anyway. Everyone in the village assumed he had gotten drunk and drowned after falling into the river. She got her foster father's keys and stole the money and bank card I had sent her. With control over the financial resources, Xiaowanwan organized the left-behind girls in the village to resist the bullying from the boys. Even some marginalized boys, impressed by her chivalrous spirit, came to join her. She was righteous and fearless, earning immense respect among the troublemakers, rightfully becoming the village's top sister. Pushing open the door of her house, she led me to the small dark room where I used to live. The room was dim and foul-smelling, with my foster mother locked inside like a dog, covered in bruises. It was just like me back then. No, she was better off than me. At least she didn't have to entertain clients. No matter how ruthless Xiaowanwan is, she would never do something so cruel to a woman. I still remember to this day, one year when inspectors came from above and reached my adoptive father's doorstep, I desperately made noise, trying to catch their attention. That was the closest I ever came to hope. On one side of the wall was the hope of freedom, and on the other side was deep despair. My foster father said it was just rats in the house and not to worry, lest we offend the officials and bring bad luck. The village chief also chimed in, dispelling the police officers' doubts. In the end, they left, and I fell into the abyss of despair. Every night, I relived the same human tragedy. Xiaowanwan gently held my hand, the warmth in her palm soothing my emotions. Seeing Xiaowanwan enter, my adoptive mother first shrank back, then began to curse loudly. Ungrateful wretch, you'll get what's coming to you. Xiaowanwan raised her hand and slapped her, cutting off the stream of filthy words from my adoptive mother's mouth, and said casually, I don't know if I'll get what's coming to me, but the way you are now, that's your retribution. The foster mother's tooth was broken in half, her mouth full of blood, mumbling something unintelligible. Sister, please go out first, don't look. I nodded and closed the door for her as I left. Screams came from inside the room. A few minutes later, Xiaowanwan came out of the house. I took out a wet wipe from my bag and helped her wipe the blood off her hands. Before leaving, my sister pulled me aside and handed me a list of names and ID numbers. This is the information I've gathered over the past few months about the women trafficked in the village, she said solemnly as she handed it to me. You must go to the city and report this to the police. Small towns have too many connections, and the situation is complicated. Go to a police station at the municipal level or higher to file a report. I didn't answer, just calmly asked her, have you thought it through? If I call the police, you'll likely get dragged into this too. Fighting and brawling are minor offenses. What you've done to your foster mother is enough to land you in jail for 2 years, sister, Xiaowanwan said seriously. Even though I haven't had much education, I once memorized a line from a textbook. How can I get mansions covering 10,000 miles? In wind and rain my cottage alone would be content to freeze. We've both been through the rain, and we've also hoped for someone to lend a hand in moments of despair. If we have the ability to help but choose to stand by and watch, how are we any different from accomplices? After saying that, my sister sneered and lit a cigarette. Besides, trading 2 years of youth for the freedom of a group of girls is worth it. I reached out and snuffed out Xiao Wanwan's cigarette, then I held her tightly in my arms. After returning, I went to the police and rescued a large number of trafficked girls. As for my sister, she was suspected of illegal detention and mutual assault, but protected by the juvenile protection law. She was only sentenced to 6 months after entering high school. I paid no attention to anything outside my studies and focused all my energy on learning. Qin Shiyuan then met his destined white moonlight. The poor little white flower Ruan Lanlan. The two of them spent their time gazing at the stars and the moon, and their grades plummeted, vying for the bottom 2 spots in the class. The whole school knew that Qin Shiyuan was a sister con, and Ruan Lanlan couldn't let go of the fact that we weren't blood-related, intentionally or unintentionally making things difficult for me. This included, but was not limited to, throwing a bloody sanitary pad under my seat during self-study class, then shouting to draw the whole class's attention, and finally putting on her little white flower persona, apologizing to me with a pitiful look. Sister, I didn't mean to, I was just too concerned about you. All right, so you're picking up what I left behind, huh? I didn't say a word. I stood up, snatched her backpack, and shook everything out onto the floor, including the same brand of sanitary pad that was under my seat. Ruan Lanlan couldn't hold it in anymore. Her face turned green, then red, then white, a beautiful array of colors. Qin Shiyuan is a straight man, but he's not a fool. After this incident, he had a huge argument with Ruan Lanlan, calling her a green tea, and the two of them gave each other the cold shoulder for quite some time. To express his guilt, he sent a flood of designer bags and luxury goods to my room as if they were free. I happily accepted them. Ruan Lanlan didn't succeed in her first attempt to stir up trouble, so she tried a second time, at school. They spread a lot of malicious rumors about me, saying that Qin Shiyuan and I were in an incestuous relationship as siblings. Ruan Lanlan's original intention was to force Qin Shiyuan to actively distance himself from me to avoid suspicion, but Qin Shiyuan's resilience far exceeded her expectations. During the flag-raising ceremony, Qin Shiyuan took the initiative to go on stage and address the entire school with a megaphone. I swear, Qin Weiwei and I have a pure sibling relationship. If there is even a hint of impropriety between us, may we be struck by lightning and die in an accident. Let me know which bastard spread the rumor. I'll tear their mouth apart. This direct confrontation nearly drove Ruan Lanlan into a state of depression. Throughout the entire 3 years of high school, it was basically Ruan Lanlan persistently trying to make trouble for me, only to be repeatedly and consistently shut down by me. 3 years of sowing discord planted a thorn between Ruan Lanlan and Qin Shiyuan. In this life, Qin Shiyuan's support for Ruan Lanlan was no longer an all-out assistance. After Xiao Wanwan was released from prison, she had a criminal record and could no longer take the path of attending prestigious film and drama schools like B Film and S Drama. She simply didn't even finish high school, starting to work as an extra on film sets a few years earlier. Her stunning appearance was overwhelmingly striking, with no substitute to be found in the entire domestic entertainment industry. Coupled with her diligence and excellent acting skills, she quickly gained nationwide fame through a low-budget short drama. Riding the wave of popularity, Xiao Wanwan quickly secured the role of the second female lead in a major director's drama. By the time Ruan Lanlan graduated from B Film Academy, Xiao Wanwan had already reached the top of the entertainment industry, becoming a widely recognized villainous supporting actress with high national recognition. Qin Shiyuan's investment in Ruan Lanlan was half-hearted and insincere, and she herself had limited capabilities. After her debut, her career remained lukewarm and unremarkable. Ruan Lanlan grew desperate and decided to play her trump card, claiming she was pregnant with Qin Shiyuan's child to pressure him into investing in her. Qin Shiyuan, worn down by her persistence, agreed to help her secure the lead role in an S+ television series. This is Lanlan's debut work. Brother, you might as well invest a bit more. I put on the appearance of a tolerant and generous older sister, analyzing the situation from Qin Shiyuan's perspective. Although my sister-in-law has always had issues with me, we are still family after all. The three of us living well together is more important than anything else. With a wave of my sweet talk, I moved Qin Shiyuan to tears. He immediately held me up as a model for Ruan Lanlan, telling her to learn more from me. Ruan Lanlan was so angry she nearly developed mastitis. At my instigation, Qin Shiyuan added several $100 million in investment and invited various A-list celebrities to boost Ruan Lanlan's status. The list was recommended by me, gathering the tax-evading sisters, prostitution brothers, drug-taking emperors, and surrogacy flowers who were household names in my previous life. Just go ahead and film, and with each shot, there will be no sound. As luck would have it, the female lead had something come up, and the company arranged for Qiao Wanwan to step in, with her superb acting skills. Qiao Wanwan overshadowed the female lead, stealing all the spotlight single-handedly. As soon as the new drama aired, the screen was flooded with bullet comments begging Wan Lanlan to wrap up filming quickly, saying it was too satisfying to watch Qiao Wanwan tear apart the White Lotus. Some content creators even made cut comparisons of their acting, demonstrating to netizens what it means to be a dimensional downgrade in performance. However, it wasn't long before a hot search about on-set bullying exploded. I opened Weibo, and the first thing that caught my eye was the hashtag Qiao Wanwan bullying the newcomer Little White Flower hashtag, pinned at the top, followed by a fiery red-hot character. What was bound to happen has finally arrived. I clicked in and found a scene from the filming set where Qiao Wanwan was shown violently attacking Wan Lanlan, turning a staged act into a real one. Wan Lanlan's face was swollen, her eyes red and brimming with tears. It's not Sister Wanwan's fault. She probably just wanted better shooting results. The video was reposted by other celebrities in the same group. Having received favors from Qin Shiyuan, they naturally stepped forward to speak up for Ruan Lanlan. Within just 2 days, the video received over 1 million likes, and the comment section exploded, with fans clamoring for Qiao Wanwan to get out of the entertainment industry. Qiao Wanwan was pushed into the spotlight and was kicked out of the crew the next day, with Qin Shiyuan personally appointing a replacement for the female lead's role. Then, a flood of black material about Qiao Wanwan emerged, and Weibo's hot search went crazy. There were 12 hot search topics, and every single one had her name. Hashtag Qiao Wanwan came from a delinquent background. School bully hashtag Qiao Wanwan abused her adoptive mother, has a detention record hashtag Qiao Wanwan's vicious supporting role portrayed with authenticity hashtag. Fans were outraged, bombarding Qiao Wanwan with criticism and collectively demanding that she leave the entertainment industry. Did Qiao Wanwan fail to advance from elementary to middle school and become a little elementary student, targeting her adoptive mother? Is this something a carbon-based life form could do? Another netizen changed their name to Director Liu of the Mental Hospital. Director Liu of the Mental Hospital, hello. After making the call to comfort Qiao Wanwan, I lay on the sofa in silence for a long time. The situation has become somewhat tricky. If the rumors from my past life about my sister, such as relying on a sugar daddy, sleeping with directors, and hype marketing, were all fabricated lies, this time the negative news is built on facts that form the truth. Lies can be clarified, but the truth only becomes more conspicuous. The beginning of the reversal started with a girl's personal essay. She was a girl protected by Qiao Wanwan. Back in the mountain village, her parents had gone out to work, her grandmother favored boys over girls, and she endured endless bullying at school. When her head was shoved into a toilet, it was Qiao Wanwan who stepped forward and stopped the bullying. She formed a small group just to call on left-behind girls to protect themselves. She even used her own money to support girls whose families refused to pay their tuition. At first, this little essay didn't make much of a splash and was mocked by Ruan Lanlan's fans as being from paid trolls. The girl's roommate, classmates, and alumni all shared the post, confirming that what she said was true. Like a spark that starts a prairie fire, more and more people are stepping forward to speak up for Qiao Wanwan. I found a prominent influencer and publicly posted the evidence online to confirm that during that trafficking operation, it was Qiao Wanwan who provided the intelligence, and her adoptive mother was also a human trafficker who sold women. The women who have returned to normal lives have come forward one after another to support Qiao Wanwan, thanking her for her unwavering courage in rescuing them from dire circumstances. The tide of public opinion gradually shifted in favor of Qiao Wanwan, amid the anticipation of netizens. The official media of Peace City reposted the expose video with the caption, "Mistakes must be paid for, but passion should not be betrayed." With that decisive statement, the matter was settled once and for all. Public opinion had completely reversed. I'm really crying my eyes out. My sister has endured so much. What a fierce heart yet gentle soul. Sister, just hand me the knife. All screenwriters, come and learn from this. Next time, the female lead in the script should be written exactly like this. I'm on my sister's side this time. Thank goodness you stepped in. Otherwise that old witch would have ruined so many more girls. Say no more. When the old witch gets out of prison, I'll go give her some warmth. Give her some warmth. Want to team up? Count me in. Hashtag Qiao Wanwan grows towards the sun and turns the tide against the wind. The hashtag soared to the top. It remained high on the trending list. Qin Shiyuan's film crew was filled with regret and wanted to invite Qiao Wanwan back, but they couldn't bring themselves to say it. On the other side, I turned down the opportunity for graduate school admission offered by the university and went to the Qin family's company for a rotational internship. Qin Shiyuan trusted me a lot, saying that he would leave the company for me to manage and operate in the future, and he would just be a hands-off chairman in name. I pinched his cheek and said with a smile, "Thank you for your trust, little brother. I'll work hard to live up to your expectations." After turning around, I wiped the hand that had touched his face. In my previous life, Qin Shiyuan used my sister as a stepping stone for Ruan Lanlan. After forcing my sister to leave the entertainment industry, the Qin family arranged for her to enter into a marriage alliance. The marriage alliance was not with young masters or gentlemen, but with those prominent and influential figures. To put it bluntly, it's about making the younger sister marry a group of people. They took turns serving those upper-class figures, and the Qin family used this to amass enormous profits. The most outrageous part is that she once entertained 4 men at the same time, which is even worse than a prostitute on the street. Qin Shiyuan, the Qin family, I won't let a single one of them go. Trash belongs in the trash can. We've gathered enough evidence, now we just need to add fuel to the fire. The Qin family has extensive influence in P City, standing firm for many years with connections at every level. Back in the day, many people sued the Qin Corporation, but without exception, the cases all fizzled out. To bring down such a behemoth, one must leverage the power of public opinion. Qiao Wanwan is currently at the peak of her popularity, almost forming a stark contrast with Ruan Lanlan, who is constantly causing trouble with Qin Shiyuan, asking him to issue press releases and hire online trolls to overshadow Qiao Wanwan. I placed his favorite iced Americano in front of him, subtly hinting. Qiao Wanwan signed a binding contract with her agency when she entered the industry. You could try reaching out to her company. Qin Shiyuan raised an eyebrow. She's your own sister. How could you bring yourself to do it? I lowered my eyes, my expression dimming as I said, over the years, I've been secretly sending her money, but when I later approached her for investment in a project, she turned her back on me without a second thought. I imitated the heroine from an idol drama, tilting my head at a 45-degree angle to gaze at the ceiling, tears welling up in my eyes but stubbornly refusing to fall. From now on, she can walk her own path, and I'll cross my own bridge. She goes by the surname Qiao, while I go by Qin. There's no longer any connection between us. I, Qin Weiwei, have one and only one brother. Qin Shiyuan held me in his arms with a pained heart, saying, I also have only one sister. And that's you, Qin Weiwei. My chin rested on his shoulder, tears still lingering in my eyes, as a faint smile curled at the corner of my mouth. When Qiao Wanwan received the script for the variety show, her beautiful, dark eyebrows furrowed into a tight knot. I refuse. My money was given to me by my sister. What does it have to do with her? Ruan Lanlan. Why should I say it was Ruan Lanlan who funded it? Does she have a face made of cement? The agent pushed his gold-rimmed glasses up the bridge of his nose, smiling insincerely. Your sister's money is also the Qin family's money. Now that Ruan Lanlan is the Qin family's future daughter-in-law, it's all the same. It's not the same. It means something different to me. Qiao Wanwan was so angry she turned to leave, but a tall, burly man in a suit blocked her way. Seizing the opportunity, the agent locked the door of the compartment and elegantly sat down on the sofa to drink coffee. Miss Qiao, I advise you not to refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. If you don't cooperate tonight, he clapped his hands, and 3 or 4 burly men in suits emerged from behind the clothing rack, surrounding her. You know the power of young Master Qin, the agent said, setting up his phone threateningly. A popular star's dressing room play. Just imagine how explosive that would be. Tisk, involving commercial secrets. Qiao Wanwan had handed over her phone when she came to discuss the script. Just as she was in despair, a sudden, urgent knocking sound came from outside the door. The agent frowned. Who the hell is that? Didn't young Master Qin take care of it? He waved the man in the suit away and angrily opened the door, wanting to see who had come to play the hero. Unexpectedly, the person who arrived was even angrier. Are you a fucking idiot? The surveillance wasn't turned off. It's connected to the live stream. I smiled in front of my phone screen and sent the final big rocket in the live stream. Push the live stream's popularity to the top of the app's homepage. The girl in charge of monitoring at the company is the one whom Qiao Wanwan rescued from a mountain village many years ago. When I contacted her, she agreed without hesitation. She inserted the program I wrote into the terminal computer, blocked the phone signals of everyone in the company, then restarted the monitor and connected the signal to live streaming rooms on major platforms. The live stream went viral across the entire internet, and within just over 10 minutes, multiple related topics surged to the top of the trending searches. Weibo crashed instantly, and programmers were called back to the company for emergency overtime, with overtime pay calculated at 10 times the usual rate, racing against time to fix the system. All marketing accounts jumped on the bandwagon, trying to seize this explosive moment and get a piece of the pie. I hired influencers to steer the narrative, not only to criticize Xiaoruan but also to raise doubts in the comments section. If it weren't for them speaking Chinese, I'd suspect this was a video from overseas. Why is the domestic entertainment industry copying South Korea, playing the chaebol game? Fine. I strongly urge a thorough investigation of the Qin family. They've done a lot of unspeakable things in the past. Hey, the person above, give us the details. Share the gossip with me. Under the absolute heat of public attention, the Qin family couldn't suppress the waves of public opinion even with their money. Various doubts and questions came pouring in, and the bank refused to grant any more loans to the Qin family's company. Companies that had close ties with the Qin family also cancelled their cooperation. With the capital chain broken, the Qin family's company fell into paralysis. At this point, Qin's parents turned their gaze toward me. Just like they pushed my sister out in the previous life, this time they chose me as the tool for the marriage alliance. I pretended to agree and followed Qin Shiyuan to the club for the meeting. Qin Shiyuan said he was worried I might drink too much and hurt my stomach, so he poured me a glass of milk in advance. I handed the milk to Qin Shiyuan's lips and playfully blinked my eyes. Little brother, have a sip too, so you can help me fend off the drinks later. Qin Shiyuan quickly declined. I smiled meaningfully but said nothing, picking up the glass of milk and downing it in one go. During the banquet, I was practically the sole target of everyone's toasts. Not only did Qin Shiyuan not help me fend off the drinks, but he also joined the big shots in pouring more for me. With a slight intoxication from alcohol, someone began to grope me. Qin Shiyuan excused himself to return to the company to handle an urgent matter. Preparing to leave, I grabbed Qin Shiyuan's hand. Looking at him pleadingly, begging him not to leave me alone, Qin Shiyuan avoided my gaze, not daring to look at me. To wear the crown, one must bear its weight. For the sake of the Qin family, you must endure. He slowly withdrew his hand, turned, and left, closing the private room door behind him, and with that, he took away the last shred of sympathy I had for him. A lecherous man with a face full of rough flesh and a greasy, shiny head reached out to place his hand on my leg. Don't be scared. Little sister, big brother will take good care of you. I knocked his hand away, kicked the table over with a lift of my leg, and the empty beer bottles and ashtrays clattered to the ground, shattering into a mess of shards, blocking the space between us. All eyes turned to me, some stunned, some disdainful, while others frowned, annoyed that I had interrupted their flirting with their female companions. I stood up, the drunken weakness in my eyes completely gone, and smiled as I raised my phone. Above was clearly the location sharing between me and Xiaowanwan. The police will arrive at the scene in 3 minutes. Have fun, everyone. When I got in the car, I immediately turned on location sharing with Xiaowanwan and asked her to call the police for me. Actually, after drinking the milk, I went to the bathroom and forced myself to vomit by sticking my fingers down my throat. The intense back and forth with Qin Shiyuan was partly because I wanted to test his attitude and give him a chance. The other reason was that I was stalling for time, waiting for my sister and the police to arrive. After this incident, companies that had previously maintained a polite attitude towards the Qin family all turned their backs, avoiding the Qin family as if they were a plague, and I also completely submitted the evidence in my hands to the court. The Qin family made their fortune in real estate. In their early years, they were involved in incidents during property grabs that resulted in deaths. During their transition period, they engaged in malicious competition, and in recent years, while dabbling in finance, they colluded with securities companies to exploit retail investors. One bloody case after another, along with the immense ill-gotten gains of unknown origin, sealed the Qin family's crimes. Mr. and Mrs. Qin were imprisoned, and the company declared bankruptcy. The TV series invested by Qin Shiyuan flopped. The scandals of the actors group were exposed, including tax evasion, solicitation of prostitutes, and drug use. It almost gathered all the negative examples of the criminal law. Billions in investment have completely gone down the drain. Qin Shiyuan has earned the title of investment poison, and even mentioning his name is considered bad luck. Even Ruan Lanlan kicked him away with utter disdain, not even bothering to pretend this time. I'm not dating to engage in targeted poverty alleviation. Get lost. Thank goodness the child isn't yours, or it would have been the worst luck in 8 lifetimes. After dumping Qin Shiyuan, Ruan Lanlan turned and threw herself into the arms of her sugar daddy, posting a photo of a family of 3 on Weibo. Following his investment in a toxic venture, Qin Shiyuan once again became the top clown in the clown world by happily becoming a father. Qin Shiyuan choked up and asked me why I had treated the Qin family this way. I told him, every cause has its effect. I just wanted to personally deliver justice for what was missing. After saying that, I hung up the phone. I couldn't explain my past life to him, but in the process of seeking revenge in this life, I truly gave them chance after chance to turn back. Before I even made a move, Ruan Lanlan had already brought about her own downfall. Her new husband is a shrewd businessman who has affairs outside, and he doesn't give Ruan Lanlan the pampering and adoration that Qin Shiyuan once did. Ruan Lanlan wanted to build her own career, knowing that her reputation in China was ruined and she lacked real skills. She decided to try her luck in overseas markets. Unfortunately, she had ambition but no brains. By participating in a horse racing show, she crossed a red line and was collectively banned by the domestic entertainment industry. After the ban, she was also subjected to a barrage of criticism from netizens. The once goddess who stood at the pinnacle of fame finally tasted the bitterness of online violence. After leaving a suicide note, she ended her life by jumping off a building. The building chosen was the very one Qiao Wanwan had jumped from in her previous life. The next time she heard news of Qin Shiyuan was through a notification from the police. They found Qin Shiyuan in a nightclub, lying on a sofa with old needle marks covering his arms and thighs, and on the neck, there was a fresh needle mark. When the police arrived, his mouth and nose were blocked by vomit, and he had completely stopped breathing. I crossed off the last name on the revenge list. Qiao Wanwan suggested visiting Qin's parents in prison, considering that the Qin couple treated me quite generously in this lifetime. She once found someone to change their cellmates, hoping to arrange for someone to look after them. After all, much of the money Qiao Wanwan used to help others back then came from the pocket money the Qin couple gave me. Through the glass, Mrs. Qin looked haggard, no longer as dignified and elegant as she once was. She asked me why I would kick them while they were down, given that the Qin family had treated me well. Hearing the words not unkind, Qiao Wanwan's breathing quickened with anger, her voice suddenly sharpening. Your so-called not unkind means you let your son bully others at school and allow him to ruin someone else's life. Mrs. Qin was puzzled. He bullied others, not you. Why are you so worked up? Besides, it takes two to tango. Why does Shiyuan bully them and not others? Shouldn't they reflect on themselves? Qiao Wanwan was so angry that she didn't want to say a word, slamming the phone down hard. I knew that if it weren't for the glass barrier, she would have already slapped Mrs. Qin across the face, asking her if it hurt. After leaving the prison, she arranged for the Qin couple to be moved back to their original cell. That was where people who had conflicts with them in the past were held. The Qin couple received life sentences for the rest of their lives. Let them truly experience whether a single hand can clap or not. Amidst the contrast with her peers, the younger sister became a breath of fresh air in the entertainment industry, rising to the top tier of fame. After wrapping up the new drama, she invited me on a seaside vacation. She held my hand and ran under the sunlight, the wind whistling past our ears, sounding just like the voice of freedom, walking on the soft sand. Our shadows overlap and merge, from a certain angle. They look exactly like one person. It's as if we have always walked our own paths, yet never missed offering each other tenderness. Apart, we are kings. Together, we are unmatched. Look, who would have thought that a seed once buried in the dust could struggle to bloom even in the cracks of a stone? Since you've boarded this pirate ship of life, just go for it and be a happy pirate. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister-in-law broke her hand at home and still hasn't fully recovered after 3 months of sick leave. Her workplace gave her 2 options, either return to work or resign. My parents agreed that she should go back to work. It's her left hand that's broken, so it doesn't affect much. Jobs are hard to come by these days. You're injured, so the company definitely won't assign you heavy work. It's like sitting back and earning money with ease. My brother also supported this idea, only I could see my sister-in-law's reluctance, so in front of the whole family, I advised her to focus on recovering from her injury first. After hearing this, my sister-in-law immediately resigned, but it took a whole year for her to fully recover. When she went to look for a job again, she couldn't find one no matter how hard she tried. Employers either disliked her long gap in employment or were concerned about potential after effects. After being repeatedly rejected, my sister-in-law vented her anger on me. If you hadn't stopped me back then, things wouldn't have turned out like this. My father and brother joined in the scolding. It's all because of your meddling. My mother was in a difficult position, but she still urged me to apologize and endure it. Finally, my sister-in-law shouted, "Since I don't have a job, you won't have one either," as she reached out and pushed me down the stairs. That push didn't break my hands, but it directly took my life. When I woke up again, I had actually returned to the moment when my sister-in-law had to make a choice. Today, our boss said, either go to work tomorrow or leave. At the dinner table, my sister-in-law spoke with a worried expression. Dad chimed in. Then go ahead. Exactly, Mom chimed in. Jobs are so hard to come by these days, and you finally found one, and you haven't even worked a full year yet. Sister-in-law's face turned grim, but the doctor said my hand needs to be properly rested for another 3 months. If it doesn't heal well, there could be complications. You injured your left hand, and that job is just typing in the office. It won't be affected, Dad said with certainty. Husband, Mom and Dad don't understand. You need to make a decision for me. My brother calmly continued eating the rice in his bowl, and only after finishing did he let out a satisfied burp before putting down his chopsticks. Wife, of course you should go. If there's any work, just say your hand hasn't fully recovered and push it aside. Can they really force you to do it? Then you can just sit there comfortably and rest while still getting paid. How great is that? Mom and Dad nodded repeatedly. That makes perfect sense, but my sister-in-law still furrowed her brow. I'm just afraid the company will insist on letting me go. If they handle it straightforwardly, that's fine, but if they refuse, they have plenty of ways to pressure me. Are you stupid? Don't you know how to refuse if something happens? If they try to force you, just call the police. My brother still dismissed it lightly. Dad also put down his bowl and chopsticks. If anything really happens, don't be afraid. Our whole family will definitely go to your boss to demand an explanation. Maybe we can even get some compensation. Mom took a step back and reminded her, if you resign now, not only will you get nothing, but what will you eat and drink while staying at home afterward? Even though my parents and brother joined forces to persuade her, my sister-in-law clearly wasn't happy about it. She wore a sour expression, her eyes sweeping across the dining table. Finally, they settled on me, who had been silent. Shinshin, help me analyze this. Should I really not go to work? Sure enough, here it comes, I sneered inwardly. In my previous life, I could see my sister-in-law's reluctance and couldn't bear to watch her being pressured by my parents and brother to go to work, so I spoke up for her. As a result, my sister-in-law immediately seized the opportunity and went to resign right away. Without receiving any compensation, my parents and brother blamed her for being too impulsive. My sister-in-law directly pushed the blame onto me, saying I had encouraged her. My parents forced me to admit my mistake. My brother made me compensate my sister-in-law for her financial losses. I couldn't defend myself, and for the sake of family harmony, I had to endure it all. But even so, when I was eventually killed by my sister-in-law, my family only made sarcastic remarks. In this lifetime, I will never get involved in any matters of this family again, so I shook my head and said, Sister-in-law, I just started working and don't understand anything. You should make the decision yourself. My sister-in-law was taken aback but still didn't give up. She deliberately sat down next to me and tried to persuade me patiently. I just can't make up my mind. If I go, the boss will definitely give me a hard time and force me to resign. By then, I might not only lose my job but also fail to recover my hand properly. So, Shinshin, what do you think, sister-in-law? If you don't want to go, then don't go. Her face lit up with joy. But I immediately cut in loudly, if you want to go, then go. Watching her swallow her words halfway, her entire face flushed bright red, I continued, Mom, Dad, and my brother all suggested going. You're still hesitating. Is it because you don't want to go? In this lifetime, I threw the question back at her. I wanted to see how she would respond. Who would have thought my sister-in-law would skip over the question entirely? It's precisely because they've all given their suggestions that I'm asking you, Shinshin, what do you really think? Seeing that she still wanted to treat me like a pushover, I decided to bring everyone else into the conversation. Mom and Dad are right, don't you think so, sister-in-law? Don't be like that. How about this? Pretend you're me, with a broken hand needing rest, and someone at work is giving you a hard time. What would you choose? Then listen to your brother. He always has your best interests at heart, right? After a few rounds, sister-in-law clearly couldn't hide her emotions anymore. She directly pulled a long face. Resign or what? You must choose one. I really didn't expect that. Even after talking to this extent, she would still force me to say the answer she wanted. Fortunately, Dad grew impatient. He interrupted his sister-in-law's pressing questions. Daughter-in-law, we've all said you should go to work, but you keep asking and asking. What exactly do you want? We're all family. If you think something is wrong, just say it straight. Don't make it seem like we're forcing you. Bang. My brother slammed the table even harder. Shinlin, after all that's been said, what's there left to choose? If you just don't want to go to work, say it straight out. No one's got nothing better to do than to harm you. Of course not. My sister-in-law's face stiffened. My matters are the family's matters too. Isn't it only right to let everyone share their opinions? At this point, she added with a grievance, how was I to know that Shinshin wouldn't just keep her thoughts to herself but also stir up trouble? Shinshin, by doing this, do you mean to say you think I shouldn't go to work, with a way out now offered? My father's expression immediately softened, but then he turned to me with a bad temper. "If I ask you, just answer. Why bring up so much nonsense?" My brother leaned back in his chair, his eyes darting around, and immediately fired off 3 questions in a row. "Shinshin, do you think your sister-in-law shouldn't go to work? If she doesn't work, what will she eat? Are you going to support her?" This turn of events felt utterly absurd to me, however. What was even more ridiculous was that my sister-in-law immediately stood up and started speaking on her own. "Forget it. Since Shinshin is willing to take responsibility, I'll listen to her and not go to work. Everyone, please don't blame Shinshin anymore for my sake." "All right then, Shinshin, you'll be responsible for your sister-in-law for 3 months. That's right, this is what family is all about. We should lend a hand when it's needed." Hearing these words, I was almost on the verge of laughing in anger. In my past life, it was indeed my big mouth that caused my sister-in-law to leave her job and stay at home. When my parents and brother pressed me to take responsibility, I had no choice but to accept it. For the next 3 months, my sister-in-law had everything handed to her on a silver platter: food, clothing, and all her daily needs were my responsibility. As someone who had just started working, I was barely making ends meet myself. Yet she lived in absolute comfort, and then, her hand never fully healed. It wasn't until a full year had passed that I simply couldn't afford to support her any longer. Her hand had just healed, and she was planning to go out to look for a job, but after all, she had been out of work for too long, and the reason for the gap was just a common fracture, so no company was willing to hire her, with no money and no job. My sister-in-law turned her anger on me, which ended up costing me my life. But at that time, I thought it was all my sister-in-law's fault, and my parents and brother were only urging me to endure for the sake of family harmony. In this lifetime, even if I keep my mouth shut, they can still pin this mess on me, or maybe they've already joined forces and are making their plans right in front of me. At this moment, I can't hold back any longer. I stand up abruptly, point at my sister-in-law's nose, and start shouting, "You hurt your hand, not your brain. So why can't you make your own decisions? Even if you want to play both sides and find a scapegoat, go to your parents or your husband. Why should it fall on me, your sister-in-law? As for that lousy job of yours, whether you keep it or not is none of my damn business." After cursing, I strode out of the house, slamming the door with a deafening bang, but before I could reach the elevator, my mom opened the door and pulled me back. "Shinshin, where are you going so late at night? It was you who spoke carelessly and caused misunderstandings. How can you have the nerve to slam the door? Go back and apologize to everyone." My dad shouted from inside the house. "Don't bother with her. She's grown up and thinks she's tough now, disobedient and even talking back. If she's so capable, she should never come back to this house again." "Chin-yusen, your sister-in-law asked you out of respect for you. Who are you giving that attitude to? If you don't clear things up today, I'll act as if I never had a sister." My brother also slammed the table, his face flushed with anger as he yelled. I stiffened my neck and shouted back, "I'm not wrong, still want an apology, dream on. As for not being allowed to come home and not being their daughter or sister anymore, that's exactly what I've been hoping for. I only lived at home when I first started working to save money, but in reality, the monthly living expenses I handed over, along with the money I gave them as a token of respect, added up to more than what I would have spent renting a place outside. By then, every single penny will be saved and spent on myself. Life couldn't be better. Besides, with my sister-in-law in this house, she's always scheming to set traps for others. Over time, I might fall into one of those traps again and risk my life, so no matter how much they threatened or yelled, I just pulled my mom's hand away, frantically pressed the elevator button, and was determined to leave, but suddenly, my sister-in-law burst into loud sobs. "Mom, Dad, husband, please don't blame Shinshin anymore. It's all my fault. If I had understood Shinshin's meaning earlier, I wouldn't have kept asking questions and made her misunderstand." This sudden gesture of reconciliation instantly softened Dad and my brother. "Ahem, since my daughter-in-law has said so, let's just forget about it. Shinshin, even if it was a misunderstanding, you shouldn't lose your temper after just a few words. What kind of behavior is that?" Mom once again took my hand and earnestly advised, "All right, we're all family. Once the misunderstanding is cleared up, it's fine. Thankfully, your sister-in-law isn't holding a grudge this time. You can't act like this again in the future." After saying that, she tried to pull me back into the house, but I still stood my ground, looking straight at my sister-in-law and asking, "You understand, then tell me. What exactly do you think I meant?" Her eyes shifted, and then she spoke with an air of sincerity. "Shinshin, don't worry, I know you only have my best interests at heart. I'll definitely follow your advice." I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh at those words. Even at this point, she still wants to use me as a stepping stone. To avoid being tricked again, I emphasized once more, "Whether you go to work or quit your job, it's your own business. It has nothing to do with me." My sister-in-law's face stiffened, but before she could respond, my brother slammed the table and exploded. Chin-Yusen, we've already humbled ourselves this much. Are you still not done? Do you really have to stir up trouble and make this family fall apart before you're satisfied? All right, why are you arguing again? Mom waved her hand in the middle, then turned to scold me. You too. As a girl, can't you say a few less words? We're all family. What are you trying to achieve by being so relentless? I don't want to do anything, I just don't want to take the blame, I just want to leave. But Mom just wouldn't let go. Dad and my brother started cursing again, and my sister-in-law was adding fuel to the fire on the side. For a moment, the entire hallway was in an uproar. Click. Just at that moment, the neighbor's door opened. The neighbor next door poked his head out and shouted, "Old Chin, what's going on at your place?" His wife followed behind, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. What's all the fuss about so late at night? My parents and brother, concerned about their reputation, fell silent. My sister-in-law also lowered her head. Only I seized the opportunity to shout, "Mom, Dad, whether sister-in-law goes to work or not is up to you. I don't understand. So I won't give any advice. I have to work overtime at the company, so I'm leaving first. No need to see me off, making such a big fuss just to see someone off. I thought it was a fight," the old man muttered. The old lady, however, only focused on the first part and hurriedly leaned in to ask, why is she not going to work at such a young age? Back in our day. Just then, the elevator finally arrived, while Mom was distracted. I immediately broke free from her grip and ran into the elevator. As the door closed, my sister-in-law's sinister gaze fixed directly on me. I took a taxi back to the company overnight and booked a room at a nearby hotel. Just as I settled in, Mom's call came through. "Shinshin, it's so late, why aren't you home yet?" Before I could answer, Dad shouted hoarsely from the side, "Why come back? She needs to suffer a bit outside to learn her lesson, otherwise she'll keep causing trouble like she did today." Mom chimed in with a complaint, "Shinshin, you really went too far today, making our whole family a laughingstock." I listened patiently without saying a word. After all, they didn't need my response anyway. Sure enough, Mom continued on her own, even bringing up my sister-in-law. "And why do you have to tell everything to outsiders? That gossipy neighbor next door just left after prying into your sister-in-law's business for ages. Isn't my sister-in-law the one who keeps going back and forth, unable to make up her mind? Isn't it better to have more people give her advice? Has she made up her mind now? Is she going to work tomorrow or not?" I finally spoke up coolly. "Of course she is. Honestly, what's there to think about?" Mom went on and on about my sister-in-law in detail, and Dad chimed in from time to time with a few criticisms. Overall, it's pretty much as I thought, because of the neighbor's gossip, as well as the suggestions from her parents and brother. My sister-in-law finally announced in front of everyone that she was going to go to work. However, she was worried that the boss might try to cause trouble, so she wanted my brother to go with her. After saying all this, my mother turned back to the original topic. "All right, everything's settled now. Come back soon. Apologize to your brother and sister-in-law first thing tomorrow morning. We're all family, so let's be a bit more understanding of each other. Work has been busy lately. I won't be coming back these few days." I still used the same excuse. Dad cursed a few words on the other end of the phone, but it was too muffled to make out clearly. After confirming that I had found a place to stay, Mom sighed and said, "Forget it. It's good to be out for a few days. You have to get used to it eventually. After all, you'll be getting married sooner or later." Sigh. After hanging up the phone, I lay on the unfamiliar bed and took a deep breath. Parents' care is genuine, but there are always too many people and too many things that come before me. In the future, there will only be more. However, it's no big deal. Home has never been a place for fairness. My parents had a hard time raising me, so after I started working, they said it was time for me to repay them. My brother will be the one to support our parents in their old age, and he's also my support from my family, so he says I should respect him, although my sister-in-law came into the family later. She is the real mistress of the house, so she says I should give way to her. As I grew up, I realized that there was actually no place for me in this family anymore. It's me. I've always been too demanding. The less I have, the more I want to deceive myself into thinking I do. In the end, in my previous life, I endured until the very last moment, gained nothing, and even lost my life. Now, having been reborn into a new life, caring about these superficial things is utterly meaningless. Time and money are only worth spending on oneself. As for that family, since they think I'll leave sooner or later anyway, it's better to start now, and to go far, far away. With that thought, I rolled over and sat up, opened the social media app, found my university mentor's profile picture, and typed word by word in the chat box, "Professor, I'll take that project you mentioned. Have you thought it through?" The professor called immediately. "This project requires at least half a year abroad. And if there are results, it could take even longer. Have you made up your mind? I confirmed. The teacher's voice suddenly rose with excitement. Great, you've finally come around. Back in school, I asked you to stay and help me, and I've called you several times since, but you insisted on going home. Well, let's not dwell on the past. When can you come at the earliest? I didn't expect the teacher to bring up old grievances right to my face. But back then, I truly had my heart set on going home, so now, feeling a bit guilty. 1 month. There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone before the person spoke. That's a bit long. Are you sure you won't change your mind? Of course, I'll resign right away. Once I finish handing things over here, I'll come find you immediately. All right, then 1 month at most. Send me your documents in advance. I'll take care of the visa and flight tickets. Feeling the teacher's high regard and urgency, I could only agree repeatedly. After hanging up the phone, I let out a long sigh of relief. A month is a short time, and there are many things to prepare. The unit's approval for resignation came quickly, but recruiting a replacement and handing over duties indeed require time. I can only follow the routine and stand my last watch. But just when everything was going smoothly, the family members I had deliberately forgotten about reappeared. My mother called and insisted that I go back. It had only been a little over a week, but her voice was filled with exhaustion, and some faint, chaotic noises came through from her side. It's all because of, making a fuss, you yourself. There were the voices of my brother, sister-in-law, and the neighbor aunt. Although I only heard a few words, it was clearly very lively. This is clearly another incident. I don't want to get involved, but unfortunately, I left in a hurry last time, and many of my documents are still at home. So I simply agreed to go back home over the weekend, and so, the day off arrived quickly. I didn't want to stay at home for long, so I deliberately went back very late. But as soon as I entered the door, I was startled. Everyone was there, my parents, my brother and sister-in-law, and even the elderly neighbors. They were all sitting in the living room, staring at me, but as soon as Dad opened his mouth, his tone was still harsh. Why are you so late? Do we have to invite you to come home now? Mom glanced at the neighbor, whose ears were perked up, and smoothed things over. Shinshin already said she's busy with work. It's normal for her to be late. Oh, the neighbor aunt chimed in. You're already so busy just starting work. It seems your boss really values you. How much do you make a month? Have you gotten a raise? Been promoted? Are there any nice young men at your workplace? Just as I was getting dizzy from this barrage of questions, suddenly there was a loud crack. My sister-in-law had forcefully knocked a water cup to the floor. Under everyone's gaze, she said expressionlessly, "My hand has no strength. I can't hold it steady." But I clearly noticed that she wasn't using her previously fractured left hand, but her right hand. However, after being stopped by the old man's look, the neighbor aunt reluctantly closed her mouth. Surprisingly, neither Dad nor my brother said a word. Mom even bent down to pick up the cup, smiling cautiously. "It's fine, I'll just go wash it." But before she could stand up, my sister-in-law sneered. "All right, everyone's here now, so let's get down to business." Mom sat back down awkwardly, but for a good while, no one spoke up first. I was even more bewildered. It's only been 2 weeks since I last came home, and the person in charge has already changed. Has my sister-in-law shifted from guiding behind the scenes to taking the lead openly? And indeed, that's exactly what happened next. My sister-in-law spoke with a sarcastic tone. "If no one's going to say it, then I will. If it weren't for all of you forcing me to go back to work before my hand was even fully healed, I wouldn't have ended up like this today, so, you all have to compensate me." The neighbor immediately retorted, "That day we were just chatting casually. Whether you went or not was your own decision. How can you blame us now? Shaoshan, let me speak a few words of fairness." The old man also looked displeased. "Originally, Old Chin and his wife said you were in trouble, and his neighbors, we all came together to discuss it. That's why we're here. Who would have thought you'd be so blunt as soon as you opened your mouth? If that's the case, we won't get involved either. You can sort out your own family matters yourselves." With that, the uncle stood up and even pulled the aunt along. The older brother quickly stepped aside to stop them. "Uncle, aunt, although my wife speaks bluntly, she has a point. That day, it was the two of you who kept talking and talking, forcing her to change her mind. So, for things to turn out like this today, you really have to take responsibility." "Exactly, that's the point. That's why I called you here to explain clearly." Dad nodded in agreement. As soon as they opened their mouths, it was as if they forgot that the person my sister-in-law had accused earlier also included them, and instead, they shifted all the blame onto the neighbors. Mom didn't say a word. My sister-in-law didn't argue either. She pointed at the aunt and spoke even louder, her eyes filled with hatred. "I wasn't even planning to go to work anymore. It's just that you kept nagging, and you took advantage of your seniority. insisting I agree before you'd let go. Why didn't you say back then that we shouldn't meddle in other people's business? Now that there's a problem from getting involved, you want to wash your hands of the responsibility. Dream on. The auntie pushed her brother's hand away and retorted, what's wrong with saying a few words? It was your husband who personally sent him to class, so blame him. Later, his left hand got injured again. His right hand was sprained. He lost his job. Go ask your boss for compensation. Huh, the neighbor uncle sneered. Old lady, you forgot that her injury happened at home, so she can't pin it on the company. Originally, her boss would rather pay extra compensation just to fire her. Most people would have taken the offer and left it at that. It's the Chin family being greedy and biting off more than they can chew, causing such a fuss that the company had no choice but to follow the laws and regulations. And what's the result? Originally, they were supposed to get 3 months extra pay, but now they only get 1 month. The Chin family is just resentful, so they're picking on us as an easy target to make up for their losses. At this point, the elderly neighbor looked at Dad and said, Old Chin, if you really think that way, then don't blame me for turning hostile. We've been neighbors for decades, but I'll go out right now and let everyone judge. Let the outsiders see which family is truly shameless. Dad's expression stiffened, and he didn't respond. Sister-in-law also stopped being aggressive, and the situation quickly became deadlocked. It was only when I heard this that I finally understood what was going on. I never expected that the unfolding of this life would be so full of twists and turns. For a moment, I couldn't help but take a sharp breath, but with just that little bit of movement, they all turned to look at me. Chin Yusin. My sister-in-law suddenly brightened up and then shouted at me, You're the one who should be held responsible. If it weren't for your big mouth, none of this would have happened. This scene was exactly the same as in my previous life, and I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart. In an instant, I deeply regretted why I had listened to them argue for so long. I should have just packed up and left right from the start, but now, before I could even move, my brother yanked me into the center, shouting, That's right, it's all your fault, and you have to take full responsibility. Then, the neighbor's grandpa suddenly clapped his hands, his face lighting up with realization. That's it, everything was fine that day until Shinshin saw us and shouted about her sister-in-law. The neighbor's aunt clicked her tongue twice. No wonder we haven't seen you since then. You were hiding out of guilt after stirring up trouble. How could that be? Mom laughed awkwardly twice. Shinshin was just in a hurry to get back to the company at the time, so she said it without thinking. I never expected Mom to stand by my side at this moment, and amidst this series of absurdities, I couldn't help but feel a flicker of emotion. But the next moment, the auntie glanced sideways at Mom and said sarcastically, If it wasn't Shinshin, then who could it be? Your daughter-in-law's company can't be blamed. It's not our fault as a couple, and it's not yours or old Chen's mistake. Could it possibly be your son's fault? Of course it can't be me, my brother immediately retorted loudly. How could I possibly pressure my own wife over such a small amount of money? If word got out, what would become of the Chin family's reputation? It's indeed Shinshin's fault, Dad slowly began. She's young and doesn't understand things. She had a few arguments with her sister-in-law at home and ended up causing all this trouble. We didn't manage it well, and we've embarrassed ourselves in front of you. The neighbor auntie gave a half smile. As long as it's clear, then you can discuss how to take responsibility among yourselves. We were called over after all, so we'll just listen from the side. After saying this, she sat down firmly and even pressed down on the uncle beside her, who was about to stand up again. Mom's face was full of conflict, but she only opened her mouth and closed it again without saying anything. My heart gradually sank. This touch of emotion was ultimately unnecessary. Even in such circumstances, it was clear that my parents chose to protect my brother and sister-in-law, and, of course, themselves. Shinshin, we've raised you all these years, and you should be sensible by now. With so many things happening at home, we have to give your sister-in-law and the others an explanation. Dad looked at me deeply. Mom quickly chimed in, Shinshin, we're all family. Your sister-in-law just went through a tough time, so you should be more understanding. Just lower your head a bit, and this will all blow over. I replied with deep disappointment. So what? How am I supposed to explain myself? How am I supposed to lower my head? I don't ask for much, just like your brother said before, take care of me until my hand injury heals. My sister-in-law smoothly and naturally took over the conversation. How long will that be? Maybe 3 months, maybe half a year, or even a year. We'll talk about it once I'm fully recovered. The familiar intention made me chuckle involuntarily, and I shook my head. I don't agree. What gives you the right to disagree? My brother immediately glared at me and slammed the table in protest. He always seems to lose his temper so easily when it comes to me. Not a single hint of someone I could rely on in the future. Looking at this circle of family, I couldn't help but laugh again, but as I laughed, tears started to fall. Of course, it's because I have evidence. Ignoring their shocked expressions, I took out my phone, found the recording from 2 weeks ago, and started playing it. When it came to the part where I scolded my sister-in-law for playing both sides, she couldn't hold back anymore. Chin-Yusen, everyone says you started this. What does showing this prove? Do you think this will get you out of taking responsibility? Turn it off, Dad snapped. Isn't it embarrassing enough? If you're told to take responsibility, then take it. Why drag in other things? The older you get, the more disobedient you become. My brother, on the other hand, clenched his fist and walked straight over. He snatched the phone, deleted the video, threw it on the ground, and then spat at me. Don't push your luck. Mom looked around, her face filled with distress, but in the end, she could only scold and persuade me, saying, "Why are you so hot-tempered now? If you had just taken a step back, the family would still be fine. Now look at this mess." Sigh, hurry up and apologize to everyone. I shook my head, scanning each of these people one by one, and asked mockingly, "Why should I?" "Because you still have to come back to this home and rely on us," Dad emphasized. "All right." I nodded repeatedly. They couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, but the next moment, I wiped the tears from my face and spoke heavily. "I won't be coming back to this home anymore from now on. As for you all, I can't rely on you either. Deleting the video is useless. There's still a copy in the cloud, not just the previous ones, but also the ones you argued about in the hallway, even today's. All of them. If you don't want to reason, there's always a place to reason," Dad said angrily. "If you insist on making a scene, then I'll just act as if I never had a daughter." In the past, hearing such words might have made me panic, but now I just feel completely indifferent, even a hint of disdain. You clearly favor sons over daughters, and whenever something happens, you either smooth things over or make me take the blame. Yet you speak so righteously. What kind of father are you? Shinshin, Mom was shocked. "How can you talk to your father like that? Apologize now." She looked anxious, repeatedly giving me meaningful glances. This time, I neither backed down nor stayed silent. "Mom, besides telling me to apologize, what else can you say? I'm your biological child too. Have you ever truly considered me? Why should I always be the one to give in? Do I have to keep backing down until I die?" Mom looked dazed, murmuring, "But I did it all for your own good. You'll have to rely on your dad and your brother in the future." Her appearance was undeniably pitiful, but I just felt exhausted. "Mom, I can't rely on anyone. I can only rely on myself. You too. All these years, you've done all the housework and had to earn money outside. Who have you ever been able to rely on?" Hearing this, Mom took a few steps back, confusion flashing in her eyes. This time, her lips trembled, but she no longer said anything about making me apologize. "You've got some nerve. Daring to talk back to Mom and Dad, after all they've done raising you. Is this how you repay them? And you think you can just walk away? Dream on." My brother actually had the gall to speak up, but it's just as well he did. I pointed at him and yelled, "You selfish, good-for-nothing leech, only tough at home. When your wife gets into trouble, you turn around and try to screw over your own family. You have no skills, yet you dare to act all high and mighty in front of me. How could someone like you possibly take care of our parents or be any kind of support to me? Pa, even a stray dog on the street is more useful than you." After tearing into him, I didn't spare my sister-in-law either. "If you can't take care of yourself, then go stay in a mental hospital. If you're looking for someone to support you, you were born in the wrong era and married the wrong man, and you've tried to screw me over not once, but twice, with that kind of scheming mind. If you put it to work, there's nothing you couldn't achieve." After scolding everyone, I looked at the neighbor huddled by the door. The neighbor aunt immediately cried out, "Shinshin, I was just misled earlier and never meant to harm you." The old man stood up directly. "Old Shin, you're really not being fair. You're biased and misled us. What a waste of all these years as neighbors. Fine, sort out your own family matters yourselves. We outsiders won't get involved anymore." After saying that, he grabbed the aunt and quickly walked out. This time, no one stopped me. I just snorted coldly, turned around, and went back to my room to pack my things. I had lived in this house for a full 23 years, but when it was time to leave, there was surprisingly little I wanted to take with me. Apart from my documents, there were only a few sets of clothes to change into. It only took about 10 minutes to get everything packed up. Opening the bedroom door, only Mom was left in the living room. She looked at me, her eyes red and swollen. "How did things get to this point?" "Shinshin, just given a little. We're family." Although I didn't expect a few words to change Mom's mind, hearing her say that still made me feel a bit sad, so I just pulled my suitcase and walked out. "Where are you going so late at night?" Mom followed closely behind, pressing for an answer. "The company still needs me to work overtime." "Oh, then go ahead. With things in such a mess, it might be better for you to be away from home for a while." "Shinshin, think it over carefully, and apologize to everyone when you come back," she kept muttering behind me, even at the moment the elevator doors were about to close. She hadn't given up trying to persuade me. I didn't respond again. Nor did I mention anything about going abroad. The next 2 weeks passed quickly. The company has hired new staff, and I'm in the process of handing over my work. The teacher checks in every now and then, worried that I might change my mind again. Mom also calls from time to time. However, the number of times she asks me to go back and apologize is decreasing. Gradually, she only talked about the changes in each family member. She said that Dad's attitude had softened. And although he didn't say it out loud, he was still thinking of me. She said that my brother no longer pressed me for compensation but instead started focusing on his work and would occasionally lend a hand at home. She said that my sister-in-law was resting at home to recover her hand, which would only take a few months and wouldn't cost much. Moreover, during this time, my sister-in-law was studying and preparing for certifications, which would make it easier for her to find a job in the future. She said. I never said much, just listened to my mom's endless chatter on the phone. It went on until the day I went abroad. Shinshin, why is it so noisy over there? The airport announcement is urging passengers to board the plane. I decided to say goodbye to her. Mom, I'm going abroad for work. Are you not coming back? I stayed silent. I might return to the country, but perhaps I won't go back to that home. A sob came from the other end of the phone. Shinshin, please don't leave. After you left that day, I had a nightmare. I dreamed that you were misunderstood by us, pushed down the stairs by your sister-in-law. You, Shinshin, Mom was wrong. We were all wrong. I'll change. We'll all change. Please come back. Okay. My pupils contracted slightly, so this was the reason for the change in my family. So what? It's too late. It doesn't matter anymore. So, I whispered to her, it was just a dream, Shinshin. The plane is about to take off. Mom, goodbye, Shinshin. Mom choked up, her voice filled with reluctance. Take good care of yourself out there. Will do. From now on, I will take good care of myself. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.